good.
All right. What's up, everybody? This is Sam Jesse, and I'm here with Behind Enemy Lines Bowl Season Edition with our friends from the Uptown Update, covering everything Tulane football. We got Jack, Reed, and Isaac checking in. Guys, how are you doing? Happy holidays and happy bowl season.
What's up, Sam? It's always good to talk about some bonus football, right? Can't wait for the Military Bowl. A lot going on with Tulane right now, but the bowl game will be nice. It'll feel more normal.
Yeah, to say that you guys have been busy over the last few days would be an understatement. Tulane is in the middle of a coaching transition. Jon Sumrall coming over from Troy as the new head coach. It is a crazy time in college football this month of December. You got transfers, coaching changes, a lot going on. And somehow, some way, Tulane has to get ready to play a football game. We'll get into all of that. These guys are Tulane grads and students, so locals to it. Let's get into it. What is your connection to Tulane University and the football program?
So Jack and I both graduated from Tulane in 2020. We actually got randomly matched up as roommates or suite mates our sophomore year. And during COVID in 2020, we first started our Tulane podcast. And since then, it's just continued growing. We've been lucky to get some media credentials to some games like the Cotton Bowl last year. And we just love everything Tulane.
Yeah, it started kind of as just like a way to keep in touch with each other. And then we would talk about Tulane football anyway, so we thought may as well record it. And yeah, it's been a cool way to stay involved with the school.
Tulane is a smaller private school, not necessarily not a Power 5 SEC type school, but it is in a football hub. There is a steep football tradition. What is the level of fandom for Tulane football? And has it definitely increased over the past 2-3 years?
Yeah, absolutely, Sam. I mean, the culture around the program and around the school now is so incredibly different than even, 3-4 years ago when we were there. I joke that I was an ESPN personality because Reed and I and our friends would be the only ones at the football game. So whenever they showed the student section, it would just be us, waving our hands right in front of the camera. Whereas nowadays you have to apply for tickets the week of, the games sell out. People are talking about it around New Orleans and people are wearing Tulane gear all over. I was listening before the season started too. I think it was a UTSA podcast, but there was this guy who was talking about how all of a sudden his father-in-law just randomly started wearing a Tulane hat after the Cotton Bowl. And he had no idea that he had gone to Tulane. He was an A&M fan or something like that. Then all of a sudden, all these Tulane fans are coming out of the woodworks after a little bit of success. So it's cool to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, I talked to my friend AJ Black with Boston College, and he talked about how one of the issues that Boston College has is you are a small private school in a big sports town. Obviously, Boston, one of the biggest sports town, New Orleans. You have the Pelicans, you have the Saints. How does Tulane fit into that sports culture in New Orleans?
Yeah, it's a really tough role to fill. Tulane has always advertised itself as the college football team of New Orleans, but to be honest, there's a lot more LSU fans in New Orleans than Tulane fans. I'd say that's who we beef with the most in the city. Obviously, the Saints come first in New Orleans, but with our recent success, we've made a huge push to get more locals to the games instead of only students. And I think it's gone really well for the team, just considering all the momentum we've had and hopefully carrying it into the bowl game in next year.
Definitely a program that has a lot of momentum, even with the coaching change. I messaged you guys. Sumrall was a home run hire. I think one of the best hires that's been made so far. He did a great job at Troy. He's going to do a good job at Tulane. We'll get into a little bit more of that down the line as we talk some ball, but let's talk some fun stuff. When I think New Orleans, I think of food. It is one of the food capitals of the United States. It's one of the party capitals of the United States. What are some of y'all's favorite spots around Tulane University? And then we can even go a little bit more downtown to Bourbon Street.
Yeah, for sure. They said like when you get to Tulane, it's not like the freshman 15, it's the Tulane ton because like the food is so good. You could like eat amazing food basically anywhere on any street in any neighborhood. But I would have to go with Superior Seafood. It's kind of a Tulane. It's not only a Tulane spot, but a lot of students go there for happy hour. They've got good deals on char grilled oysters and frozen drinks and stuff. We did quite some damage there before the Ole Miss game this year when we both went down for the game. What about you, Reed? Where do you like to go?
Yeah, I guess talking about Cajun food, Jacquimo is one of my favorite places on Oak Street. It's kind of dingy and dark, but I like their food a lot. For Po' Boys, Parkway Tavern, or what's it called? Parkway Tavern, right?
Yeah,
that place is delicious. And then there's all kinds of cuisine, lots of good Vietnamese food. I like Rum House. That's a really good taco place. So pretty much whatever you want, you can get.
Yeah, honestly, like I feel like we could do a whole like New Orleans advertisement here.
This is a whole separate podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, for sure. I think that's like, it's kind of funny. You're talking about, like, yeah, they have really good charbroiled oysters and shrimp po' boys and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, places around Tech have like good burgers and tater tots.
Yeah.
Like there's some good country cooking down in Blacksburg, but there's nothing like New Orleans for sure. When I also think so a couple years ago, I put out a series of articles in the offseason on sonsofsaturday.com that was ranking the uniforms for all 100, I think at the time it was 131 FBS college football teams. Tulane was number one in uniform sets, and it was the most obvious number one choice. I think it is the best color combo logo uniforms in college football. It's second only to Tulane's baseball uniforms. What is your favorite uniform combination for Tulane football? And then is it a sense of pride how good Tulane looks on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look good, feel good, play good, right? I don't know. I think my favorite uniform combos are like kind of sentimental now. Like the all powder blues against UCF in the AAC championship game. Like whenever they wear that combo, I just like think of winning that game and how awesome it was. So that's probably mine. What about yours, Reed?
I have to agree. The all powder blue also. I think in that Houston game too. I think we're wearing all powder blue in that. But what I really like, what our equipment program does too, is incorporate some of the old logos. Like there was one with the Pelicans surfing the wave. There was one with our old 1940s greenie. So it's always cool when they break those out, even if we're not having as much success using those ones.
Yeah, and the Angry Wave like is a retro logo. We used to have like the T with the like hair wave thing on top, but then they brought back the Angry Wave, which was retro, and now it's like everyone loves it.
Yeah, the Angry Wave and the Pelican are definitely better than the T with the floof.
Yeah,
the hair coif on there. Yeah. I gotta say, I'm partial to the green jerseys and powder blue pants. I think that's phenomenal. We'll add our guy Isaac back to the fold here. What's up, Isaac? Welcome back. Isaac, what's your favorite Tulane uniform combination?
Hey, Jesse. Sorry about the technical issues. It's really hard to choose because I feel like maybe we have 3, 4, 5 best combinations in all of college football.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I was just saying it's the best and it's not close.
I appreciate that. Even our black jerseys on Black Friday are pretty good. I'd say probably the green jerseys. I'm with you on that. And then I'd go with the white helmet and blue pants. Pretty similar set.
Yeah. Jack, you said I like these because they're kind of sentimental, the all powder blues. Tech fans feel the same way about all maroon.
Yeah.
So Tech used to wear literally just maroon jerseys with orange numbers on the sleeve and the white number there, and then all maroon pants. And that was like the Michael Vick, Brian Randall era. And then they went to like a little teeny stripe right here and stuff like that. And people were like, that's what we need. Just all maroon, no stripes, no nothing. And, Michael Vick and Cam Chancellor and those guys aren't walking through the door no matter what the players wear. But yeah, those are very sentimental. Funny how college football fans are like that. Sorry if you can hear my dog freaking out upstairs. I promise he's fine. He's spoiled.
He's excited about Tulane's uniforms too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. Tulane it's an older school. There's a lot of alum. It's kind of an alum-centric school. Like, I don't think many people are like bandwagon Tulane fans. What are some of your favorite traditions and things around the program that you hold dear that some people outside of the program might not know about?
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind is the hullabaloo chant. It's a bunch of nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. But after every touchdown and I think every field goal, we do a hullabaloo chant. That's got to be my favorite during the game. I guess before the game, maybe that little blue Beetle or the blue Volkswagen that just drives right down the middle of campus to the stadium is pretty cool.
Yeah, I have to say, like, our football traditions are like kind of forming now. Like, obviously we've been around forever. We've been playing football since like the 1800s, but like it's really only getting exciting and like tradition making recently, I would say. But in general, like Tulane's got a ton of cool traditions. Obviously, there's like Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and all the students do like something called like Tequila Sunrise, where you stay up all night the Monday night before Mardi Gras and then watch the sunrise and like drink a tequila sunrise. So there's like a bunch of stuff like that. It's cool going to school in I guess New Orleans isn't huge, but it is a city where there's just like lots of like festivals and celebrations and crazy events to go to, and yeah, a lot of fun traditions around that. What about you, Isaac? What do you like to do like right now?
Yeah, I'd say a lot are forming. Fritz and Michael Pratt talked a lot about that during student orientation. We're really just our chance and everything, even though we were once in the SEC as a founding member. I'm a big hullabaloo cheer guy as well.
Yeah, it's funny how some of those traditions kind of form. I remember talking to ODU for the first game, and they're a really young program, like not even 2 decades old. And they're like, yeah, we don't really have traditions yet. We're working that out right now. So it's funny how different programs are at different levels of, their support and their fandom. I think that's interesting. Not a lot of people think about that. Now, Tulane also, again, founding member of the SEC, now in the AAC. The number one story around college football this year, outside of Connor Stallions, has been this restructuring of the sport, kind of, right? Getting rid of the Pac-12, consolidating into SEC Big Ten. There's a lot of anxiety around that from a lot of different fan bases. How do you feel about Tulane's future in college football, not only in the AAC, but in the new 12-team playoff?
Yeah, great question, Sam. I mean, I think Tulane's definitely got a place in the future of college football. I think there's definitely a spot for on it, like, to put it bluntly, like well-funded school in the middle of the South, founding member of the SEC, and that's playing really good ball right now. A lot of momentum going on in the program. So I think the athletic director just said in an interview yesterday he's very happy with the American Conference, the AAC, and it's been very good to Tulane, and I think it will be good in the immediate future to Tulane. I think they've got a very winnable schedule in the next coming years with an expanded playoff. You run the table in conference, all you need to do is upset 1 or 2 teams out of conference, and then you're being talked about for the playoffs. So, I mean, I think that's advantageous in the immediate future. But obviously, I think if you kind of read the tea leaves, right, college football is kind of heading towards like 1 or 2 mega conferences that then have like a Super Bowl-esque type game. I think that's what's going to happen. So you want to get a seat at the table. I don't like SMU very much, but I credit them for kind of throwing the kitchen sink at the wall and trying to get a seat at the table. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
So I actually feel differently than most Tulane fans. Most Tulane fans are really wanting Tulane to realign into the new P4. Probably the ACC at this point, unless there was an opening in one of the other conferences. I actually agree with our AD David Harris. At the current moment, I think Tulane is in a good conference and somewhere that puts them in a very good position to make the college football playoff. In the new 12-team format starting next year, there's one spot for the group of 5. If it was last year, that would have been Tulane playing in the Cotton Bowl. If it was this year and they didn't have the whole headache with Willie Fritz leaving, they could have easily beat SMU and again been in that playoff format. And then next year, I don't really see why they shouldn't be the favorites, even though we don't even know who's going to play quarterback for them. SMU is gone. The year before, Houston, UCF, Cincinnati left. Tulane doesn't play UTSA in the regular season next year. Most likely, they'll have another chance to play UTSA in the conference championship game. They beat them pretty handedly at home, only letting up like 12 points this season. And the only tough matchup in conference play for Tulane this year is Memphis, which is a home game. And Tulane beat Memphis fairly convincingly on the road in Liberty this season. So I really think Tulane's in a really good spot to go to the college football playoff, play on a big stage, win championships. And I'd much rather see that be in a Power 4 conference where all our non-football athletes are having overnight layovers, crazy commercial travel experiences. I just don't think it would be fair on a lot of the athletes like the swimmer and divers and maybe, the baseball team even as well. Our basketball team flies commercials sometimes. So I just don't think it'd be fair to send them all the way to California and Massachusetts and Boston for some of these random midweek matchups when they're students first.
Yeah, it's that's a really good point. I've done a lot of grad school research on college athletic travel. It's much more difficult for even the biggest programs out there. Like Michigan and Texas have issues with this stuff. So Virginia Tech and Tulane and UTSA, all these, it's like really it's an issue. And so a lot of people need to think about that, like the well-beings of the athletes. Like, is your football team even going to play well if they have to fly to Boston and then fly back to New Orleans, and then the next week they road trip to San Antonio? Like, that's your football team's probably not going to play very well there. So it's something to think about. I think Tulane definitely has a spot. I think there's LSU kind of has this thing where they're like, oh, we're the only big time program in Louisiana. But at the same time, there's so much talent in that state that not all of those kids can go to LSU. Not all of those kids can go to Mississippi State and Texas A&M, all that. So if you can become one of the winning programs in Southern Louisiana, you can draw an hour radius outside of New Orleans, and there's your football team. So Tulane, I think, definitely has a distinct recruiting advantage. I think they have a brand advantage, and also recruiting to New Orleans is pretty easy, I'm going to guess. Jon Sumrall hire, home run hire. He's going to let you know how he feels. How has that been kind of taken in? There's been some things where a lot of the coaches that are going to follow Willie Fritz to Houston are no longer with the program, which makes sense when you accept another job. I mean, these people have to like move their family. They have to start recruiting. They have to start getting to know their players. So like that's normal. But he's been very adamant about his intentions at Tulane, going as far as to say that he's going to win a national championship at Tulane. How do we feel about Sumrall so far? Now the football coach, and then Sumrall the personality.
Yeah, we couldn't be more excited about how his tenure at Tulane has started. He used to be defensive coordinator at Tulane, so people kind of knew who he was. But that first interview, that first press conference, he absolutely hit it out of the park, especially with everything that's been going on with our staff and Willie Fritz. And, we thought, and I think a lot of us do still think the world of Willie Fritz and what he was able to do for this program and for the city. But the way he left wasn't extremely graceful. He never released a great big statement like Sumrall has done. And just everything that Sumrall has done throughout this entire process has been extremely impressive. And for the week that we were doom and gloom, it's pretty much all been made up by his actions and his words. And we can be more excited about the future for Tulane football.
I mean, I think the consensus feeling after his introductory press conference was like, the desire to just like sprint through the thickest brick wall you could find. Everyone was just so fired up about it. I mean, he said exactly what we want to hear. He guaranteed a national championship in his first interview, which, to be honest, is probably not realistic. But at the same time, like Isaac, you said it, we'd be in the playoff last year. We were maybe one distraction away from a playoff game this year. Who's to stop us from getting to one next year? So you can see how like it's not as gigantic of a step as it might seem to someone looking in from the outside. But yeah, I think he also coined the phrase like recruit the boot. That's like something he said he wants to get kids to stay in Louisiana. Yeah. And he also said, what was it? If you're juiceless, you're useless. And this city's got a lot of juice.
Okay. Because that's the most like football coach, like he was like sitting around his house for hours thinking of something, and it finally hit him. Is the juice thing gonna catch on? Do we see some T-shirts in the making there?
Oh, yeah, we'll be sure it catches on.
Okay. No, I love it. I love it. I love some good coach speech. Brent Pry is, he's a very stereotypical, I would say, like Appalachia guy, where he like for the first like 4 weeks on the job, he wore the same brown leather jacket that he just never washed. It was very clear he was wearing the same outfit over and over again when he was flying to see recruits. And he's got the little accent. He likes Allman Brothers, and like it's a bit of a shtick, but it works and it gives him some personality. So don't hate on the personality.
Sumrall was super quotable. Really, really hard not to love him.
Yeah, Willie.
My biggest takeaway was I've never heard brick wall so many times in one day in my entire life. I feel like everybody was saying the same thing about the press conference. 100% approval rating at the lowest right now for Jon Sumrall. I really liked how he thanked everyone at Troy, talked about how he's really grateful for what he had at Troy over there, spent couple minutes on every single family member. So that probably took at least 5 minutes just to thank his family members, thank Troy after that. And then eventually, after thanking the staff there, the student athletes at Troy and the Troy fans, finally got into Tulane. Of course, people loved what he had to say. Very values-oriented guy. Talked about his core values, love especially, calling it an act out of feeling, it's a sacrifice. And my favorite quote was probably, Tulane will not beat Tulane. Just know that he's going to coach student athletes that are going to make sure they don't lose themselves and they can go beat every team because they're capable. They're going to be capable of it, at least their conference play.
Will be exciting to watch next year and in the few years. I definitely think he's the kind of coach that can elevate a program. So very interested to see how that goes. And I'm rooting for Tulane. I'm a big Tulane guy. I was a big Tulane better last year. It worked out really well. So let's talk about this bowl game here, the Military Bowl in Annapolis, Maryland on December 27th at 2 p.m. No one has anything to do on a Wednesday at 2 p.m., right? So should be down for some good football. Let's just – the elephant in the room with this game is like Tulane University will put a football team on the field. I just don't know if we're sure what that team looks like. Obviously, there have been transfers, there have been opt-outs, there have been coaching changes. If you can just summarize that for me, and what should we expect to see from Tulane?
Yeah, sure. Well, you don't have about like half of our coaches. They've already left for Houston after tampering with our current locker room and getting guys to go into the portal. Speaking of, we're probably down our top receiver, top 2 edge rushers, few safeties, our starting tight end, all in the portal currently. That's not to say they won't come back. I mean, I think the general feeling is once Sumrall got onto campus and got the guys who were trying to get all these players to go to Houston, once they got off campus, things have like stabilized a little bit. We don't know who's going to play quarterback. Michael Pratt hasn't said anything otherwise, so I would expect. I honestly don't know. I feel like if I was Michael Pratt and I was trying to improve my draft stock, I wouldn't want to put myself in a position where you're out there playing with guys you've not played with all year long.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. But I don't know. He's the type of guy that's going to play no matter what if he's capable. So we'll see from the quarterback position. And Slade Nagel will coach the bowl game. He's our offensive coordinator this year. Kind of controversial amongst Tulane fans because our offense was a little bit lagging behind our defense. And especially compared to last year, it was way worse. So, yeah, Isaac, Reed, y'all have anything to add?
Yeah. So Michael is the type of guy that always wants to play through injuries. He's probably played through a lot of injuries throughout this entire season. Quite honestly, he came back pretty quickly after a bad injury in our season opener. But I don't think it's going to be him on the 27th. He has not been in any of the social media promotions or any of the graphics advertising the Military Bowl against you guys. He's already agreed to play in the Senior Bowl in Mobile in the spring semester. And he also will most likely declare for the draft very soon. I think he just doesn't want to rush the decision, if I had to make an educated guess, and wants to make sure he's in the facility with his guys, supporting them through the Military Bowl, even if he is going to end up declaring for the draft and not play. Kai Horton's in the portal. That was our third-string quarterback who ended up coming for Michael and ended up starting against Ole Miss. He did an okay job, but he's in the portal now. He's really our third string because Justin Ibieta, when healthy, is our backup. And Ibieta, I'm told, is healthy now. So I think Tulane fans should be excited about Ibieta. And I think he's going to give Virginia Tech a better test than you would probably expect for a guy people haven't really heard of. Tulane's
I'll tell you, there would be nothing more Virginia Tech than getting carved up by a backup quarterback. That is, if Virginia Tech can do anything, it's get carved up by a backup quarterback. Yeah, it's Reed, do you have any insight in these guys? I mean, we know it's tough, right? It's a tough spot for the players. It's a tough spot for some of the coaches. It's unfortunate that the college football calendar works how it does.
Yeah, I think Jack hit most of the major positions that are of worry. Basically, if a player has declared for the transfer portal, they won't be playing. There are a few guys who said they're coming back for next year, so I fully expect them to play. Guys like Louisiana Tech transfer Tyler Grubbs, who's really stepped up for us. I think we got 2 offensive linemen who said they're going to be coming back. Outside of that, it's December 13th now. I think in the next 2 weeks, a lot could still change for Tulane, even though Sumrall's already there. But it's looking like we're going to be missing a solid amount of players. I still expect Tulane to put up a good fight, though.
I think the guys that are going to declare for the draft or are kind of fringe NFL prospects will definitely play. I think Sincere Haynesworth, our stud center, will play. Both of our starting all-conference corners, Jarius Monroe and Lance Robinson, will play. They both announced that on Twitter already. And same with Cam Pettisclo, who's a phenomenal transfer from
ULL.
ULL, yeah, Louisiana Lafayette. And I think our probably starting 5 on the offensive line should play. But other than that, I think it's anyone's guess.
Yeah, it'll be, Virginia Tech after Justin Fuente was fired in the last few weeks of the season, they played in the Pinstripe Bowl against Maryland. And I would say probably a third of the team didn't play. Pretty much every starter on offense and probably half the starters on defense did not play in that game. We had a tight end at quarterback, no starting wide receivers. We had walk-ons playing safety. It was to the point where there were serious conversations about player safety.
Yeah.
Because we had guys who were, 5'10", 150 trying to tackle Maryland's players. So we didn't have coaching staff. We're playing at a baseball stadium. None of it worked. So I don't think it'll be that bad for Tulane, but Tech fans have been there, and it's not fun at all. It's tough.
I think a lot of fans for Tulane did think we would be there.
Yeah.
But I don't really see why we would be. We're at 11 players in the portal right now. 8 players have already confirmed, 7 of which through NIL deals, not including Tyler Grubbs, who might be a captain next season, are coming back. So 11 in the portal, 8 coming back next season. And then as Jack said, three of our best defensive players and best players on this team have announced they're coming to play this bowl game, and I don't see why Sincere Haynesworth wouldn't our NFL draft pick center.
I think for a program that what you could describe the last week as utter chaos, I think we're pretty stable for being in a week of utter chaos.
All things considered,
yeah,
feeling pretty good.
Yeah. However, just the fact of the matter is our coach and half of our coaching staff left in the past few days. So we don't necessarily know who's gonna play coach. I heard that some former coaches might come in and step up, like guys who haven't been around the program all season long, but are like generally associated with Tulane might play. I was hoping that Tajay Spears would take a day off from the for the Titans, and be our running back coach, but I don't know if that's possible.
Might be a little busy.
Yeah, he might be a little busy, but it is a Wednesday at 2 p.m. like you said.
Yeah. So I guess before I ask for like game prediction and stuff as you wrap up, how important is the result of this bowl game to Tulane? Because I feel like for a lot of teams in multiple situations, the results of the bowl game just really doesn't matter. Like I'll say from a Virginia Tech standpoint, we got back to a bowl game. We look good. I would be totally happy if Tech played, backups for half the game. I would not care. Is Tulane fans, are they saying like, oh, we need to win this game? Are they just like moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know what the consensus for the fan base is necessarily. However, as a G5 program, like you kind of have that chip on your shoulder whenever you play a Power 5. Like we could get this scalp right now. Like I know Tulane's 11-2 and Virginia Tech is 6-6. And if there wasn't as much adversity, and don't think the spread would be, at what it is right now. So I think that if you're like I know within the Green Wave program, they want to win and they want to win really badly to set the tone for next year. Fans, I don't know if they're going to care. I think a lot of people were disappointed they couldn't book their trip to Arizona for the Fiesta Bowl. But we'll see. I think if they do win, it will be exciting for the fan base for sure.
I agree with Jack. I think that the players want to win and coaches as well a lot more than the fans. It is a tryout for this staff. Everybody who is still here now and didn't follow Willie Fritz already they have a couple week tryout. The game is a 1-day tryout, yes, but they're really in like a 3-week tryout right now because Jon Sumrall said he's going to evaluate everybody. He'll give everybody a chance to interview if they want. So this is a huge opportunity for every single coach, whether they're an analyst, coordinator, position coach, to really showcase to Jon Sumrall, who's now here, now watching everything at practice, will be there as a fan at the game, what they're really made of. And then from a fan perspective, I think people are looking forward to this game. I think a lot of the casual fans might not really care what happens, but the true Green Wave fans know how much this means to the legacy. Only one season before this year. They did it last year. They could do it again, having a 2-win season put into 2 12-win seasons in the following 2 years. Green Wave fans would remember that the rest of their lives. So really want to cement this season, especially because Tulane didn't really have too tough of a schedule. They played Memphis, UTSA, SMU, and Ole Miss, 4 opponents that were more than a game above 500, really. So I think this is a real test in a good Virginia Tech team, a team that is much better, I'm sure you know, but most Tulane fans don't know, that is much better than their record shows. And it's hot.
I also want to add that Tulane is 23-4 over the last 2 seasons, which is tied for 3rd in the entire country behind only, Georgia, Michigan, and Washington, I think. So we want to stay in that tier, right? We don't want to slip up. We want to keep being able to say we're X and X in the last 3 seasons. So
yeah, I mean, if this the way that I've talked about this, and I think Virginia Tech fans have mostly thought about this, is if this game is played on November 12th. I'd probably pick Tulane. I think Tulane probably at full strength is probably a better, more complete team. Michael Pratt has been awesome to watch. The defense has gotten a lot better this year and played really well. However, bowl games are weird, and Virginia Tech has every single guy coming back and playing in this bowl game. There have been 0 bowl opt-outs, and we just got word that every single receiver is coming back for next year. Dorian Strong's probably coming back for next year. Bashal Tuden, we'll find out. There's just the programs are just in different places, and that's why Virginia Tech is 7.5-point favorites, and that's why the line has moved 4 points in Virginia Tech's favor. Like Tulane in 2023 is probably a better football team than Virginia Tech, but that doesn't mean Tulane will beat Tech on the 27th.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't have no idea who's going to call a defensive play. I don't even know if anyone in the building knows what the defensive plays are on the coaching staff. So
we'll see how we sheet run this.
Engage 8 over and over again.
It might work. You never know. Well, I will get real quick as we wrap up predictions for this game. Reed, we'll start with you. Prediction for the Military Bowl.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think Tulane has a lot to prove. They need to show a lot of resiliency. I think on a talent level, Tulane will be lacking. Do you want a score prediction?
Yeah. And you can be a homer. That's totally okay. I don't think I've had anybody pick Tech this year on this show. Which is totally fine.
Okay. Well, I have to be honest. I don't think Tulane's going to win. I think Virginia Tech can cover the spread. 27-19 Virginia Tech. As long as Tulane plays hard and they're competitive, I'll be happy with our performance.
All right, Jack, your pick.
Yeah, let's see. I think Slade Nagel scripts up a nice drive to start the game. Justin Ibieta leads the boys down for a touchdown. Defense plays hard early on. It's a close game. But I think maybe we shoot ourselves in the foot a few times due to inexperience or something like that. And I think Virginia Tech pulls away late, honestly. So I'll go with 30-31-21 Virginia Tech.
Isaac, round us out.
I'll go 16-13 Tulane. Justin Ibieta leads us to a bunch of field goal drives, and Darius Mensah scores the only touchdown of the game.
I love it. That's a great score. Who knows?
Quarterback plays hero.
The 6th-string quarterback at the beginning of the year.
I'm gonna go. My theory is I think it will be a decently. It depends on if Pratt plays. Like I think that's the biggest thing.
I would assume he doesn't.
Yeah. If Pratt doesn't play, take off orange and maroon glasses, set them to the side. The way bowl season has gone in the last few years, like it could get ugly, and that's just because that's what we've seen in bowl season. Some of these games, I think Tulane is a little better than a lot of those teams you just kind of give up. And I don't think Tulane is that kind of program. So I think I got the Hokies winning by 14, 34-20. Yeah. 34-20. I could see this being a close game. I could see Tech putting in some backups in the second half. Then that's not to say Virginia Tech will run up the score on Tulane. I think it's more of get some young guys some time. And please, for the love of God, do not get Kyron Drones hurt. Wrap him in bubble wrap. Please don't have Kyron Drones.
I think if you want a little more analysis, Tulane has really thrived this year when they get pressure on the quarterback. They had one of the best defensive lines in college football, bar none. I'd say that. However,
so the 2 defensive linemen left, and I was like, oh, that's 9 total sacks. That's got to be like almost a third of their sacks. I'm like, oh my gosh, no. They all have 5 or 6 sacks.
Yeah, it's like a 9-10 deep defensive line. They really rotate it.
They rotated a ton. We've got super talented players that only play like a third of the snaps, defensive snaps, just because there's so many really good guys. However, it's thin right now after the transfer portal entries. So I think if they slow down and they're not able to get pressure on the quarterback, even though we have gotten experienced secondary, I don't know how much we're going to be able to hang. So I would say if Tech gets rid of the ball quickly early on in the game and then pushes the ball down the field later in the game when our guys are a little tired, I would say that's Virginia Tech's path to victory.
Well, we will find out on December 27th. Regardless, if you're going to the game, Stay safe. It should be fun as traveling over the holidays. Annapolis, some great seafood, get some crab, get some mussels. Annapolis is a really cool town if you are going to the game. Have a happy holidays, everybody. We will see you in 2024. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Looking forward to a great game.